Welcome to Healing from A to Z with Masterful You and KB. I am, of course, Chris Burke. And this morning, the topic is criticism. So, criticism's an interesting one. It's one that we tend to notice when other people criticize us, but we often don't notice how much we're criticizing ourselves. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit because criticizing yourself is a little bit like imagine your child is trying to learn to walk, and when they're learning how to use their muscles, or they're learning how to balance themselves, they're learning the steps in the progression to get to a place where they're able to master walking, which ultimately they do, right? Imagine if each time they tried to master a particular step, you were to look at them and say, oh my God, you can't even balance? What's that about, right? Before long, the child would feel so pressured, so oppressed, so deflated that they wouldn't have the energy to keep trying, to keep going until, in fact, they do master each of the steps on the way to being able to walk, to be balanced, to stay upright, right? We get to a point where walking down the street, we don't generally just topple over, but as a toddler, in fact, that's part of the deal. So what I'm going to invite us to do today is to look at ourselves as being on a journey to mastery, as being whatever it is that you want to create in your life, whatever you want more of, whatever will bring you more joy, whatever you want to improve in your experience. Consider yourself to be on the journey to that, learning the steps, learning to master each of the pieces. And if we can say to ourselves, good for you for trying, what can I learn from this? What can I do better? Then you will master it so much more quickly. Mastery, whatever it is that you want to master, creating a life that you love, is about the process. Ultimately, it's about each step in the process and learning how to do that and becoming efficient and effective in it so that it begins to happen naturally, automatically. Any place that we're struggling, we can look at that as a place to find out more. And that's what today's process is going to be about. Let's give ourselves grace. Let's recognize that we did not come in with a manual on how to be human or how to be ourselves. We're learning along the way, and we're doing it in the complicated environment of people who are also doing their learning and at various stages in that process. So we're taking in the information and we're trying to figure out, what do I do based on what I'm perceiving around me? But we're not able to very often go to kind of the bird's eye view and say, this is what I see happening overall. These are all my choices, right? So it's actually one of the things we do at Masterful You is we have a map that says, hey, here's what's happening when you're operating from zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4. These are your options. And here's how you can choose which zone you want to operate from and get there. They deliver different experiences. So as part of starting that process, let's start with your own criticism, and we'll do an exercise. Write down 3 things that you've criticized yourself about. And then write down 3 things that other people have criticized you about. Or optionally, 3 things that you have criticized others, and it's okay if you'd rather not. That can be a touchy one. All right, now circle this. This is your starting place. This is what criticism currently means to you. This is your experience of criticism right now, what you are aware of, what pops into your mind. Now we're going to say, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the criticism is so bad I feel like I can't get out of bed in the morning because I just won't give myself a break, or other people won't give me a break, right? That's the experience. To a 10 being, oh yeah, I understand criticism, I have resolved that, and I'm at peace in my own body. Where are you currently on that scale? This is an intuitive question. Whatever number pops into your mind, that's the one. Go with it. Now we're going to interview ourselves about this experience. We're actually going to interview the different aspects of ourselves or the different levels of our consciousness. So we'll start out by saying, what is it that I think when I'm at this experience? I think what? Write it down. I feel what? Write that down. I say and do to myself and to others what? I sense in my body. When you think about criticism, when you look at that circle of what you've defined criticism to be for you right now, what do you sense in your body? Where do you notice tension or lightness? Where is your attention drawn? Just scan, notice. And then finally, what do you know to be true at this level of experience? What do you know? You're just going to ask yourself whatever pops in. That's perfect. Now, assuming that we want a better experience when it comes to criticism, let's choose a number on that scale where we're going. Let's say, okay, I'm currently at what? 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it is. And I've decided I'm going to move my experience to a 7, 8. By now, I always recommend that we choose a 7 or 8 or just a number that's not 10, because 10 will move, 10 will grow as we evolve. The better our experience becomes in our own skin, the more we're like, whoa, I had no idea it could ever be that great. So we want to leave ourselves room for that. When you get to a 7 or 8, you can always say, oh, I want to go to 9, 10, whatever that is. So choose your number, set your destination. That's where I'm taking my experience. Our experience is the one thing that we have 100% control over. We don't have control over other people, what they say or do. We don't have control over situations, but over our experience, what's going on inside of us, we do. And when we change that experience, the people and situations around us respond to us differently. Our lives change. So let's focus on that number and ask ourselves, what will I think when I am at this destination number? What will I feel? What will I say and do to myself and to others? What will I sense in my body? How will my body feel different? I know my right hip has been acting up lately because I'm releasing some really old stuff. And so I know in my destination that my hip is going to feel flexible and free, right? What will it be for you? And then finally, what will you know when you are at that number? Give yourself the time to sit with that and really create a vision, so that you can really, see it, taste it, feel it. You know what it will be like, and you can commit to that and say, that is a vision worth committing to. That is an experience worth having and worth learning to have. And as you're learning to have that experience, I invite you to be kind to yourself, to see yourself as that toddler who's being so brave and deciding you're going to learn how to do something that very few people ever learn. You're actually giving yourself permission to learn how to move from the experience you're having, probably the one you learned to have when you were growing up, that's the truth for most of us, to an experience that you love even more. So as you're learning that, recognize that criticism is only going to prolong you, it's only going to deplete your energy. And ultimately, the criticism is unfounded because what you're doing is something beautiful. You're giving yourself the chance to have more peace and more love in your life. And when you have it in your life, you bring more of that to the world. It's win-win. Okay, the last step in this exercise is to say to yourself, I'm going to call it the magic toaster, right? The conscious mind sets direction, it sets intention, and it asks questions. The unconscious mind, all of the rest of us, responds to it. responds to those questions, puts the steps in front of us, puts the people and the situations in front of us that will help to bring us to that destination. Our only job is to heal whatever is getting in the way. And criticism is one of the things that gets in the way. It slows us down. It's us working against ourselves. Instead of being in, all of our aspects kind of in the boat, rowing in the same direction together, it's a part of us saying, no, I'm going to cut you down. I'm going to row against you. So nobody wins in that scenario. We need to get on our own side. So one of the ways that we do that is we ask ourselves, what do I need to know or do in order to move to my destination? And then you wait. Some of us are highly intuitive, like we've developed our intuitive muscle, so to speak, and the answers will start popping in right away. For others of you, it will be like you forgot your keys, forgot where you put your keys, or you can't think of somebody's name, and it will just pop in when you're in some relaxed moment, when you're in the shower, when you're driving somewhere, and your mind is kind of, not engaged. The answers will be free to pop in. It may come in a dream. It may come in the form of somebody calling you and saying, hey, I just heard about this great opportunity. You should check it out. However life decides to deliver it to you, just be open to exploring and experimenting. You're not obligated to commit to anything. You are giving yourself permission in this process to explore and experiment, to find out. And so then we don't have to criticize ourselves, because then we're able to say, I'm going to check this out. I'm going to see if this is for me, if this makes my experience better or not. And if the answer is no, it doesn't have to be heartbreaking. It can just be, okay, good, I learned that. I learned another thing that isn't for me, which helps me to get closer to what is. The process is really beautiful, and criticism just doesn't play a role in it, at least not a helpful role. Okay, if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Remember to check in on Fridays when my dear friend and colleague Judy Forder and I do a recap of the week and we answer your questions. So comment below. We read all of the comments and we will answer them on the show. Or at least we group the comments and questions so that we can answer them, the main themes. And if you would like support on your journey, go to masterfulyou.com. We have all kinds of resources there. You can download this exercise actually as a workbook. We also have a free book on anxiety, because in our world today, on overcoming anxiety, because in our world today, that's a really common theme, and a lot of people are suffering silently. You really don't need to. You can break out of that. I know from personal experience, which you can see in the free book. So we look forward to getting to know you and supporting your journey from an experience that just isn't good enough for you to an experience that lights you up. Thank you for spending your precious time with me today. And thank you for being you.